welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to, I suppose, Keno's first video of the year, the new year 2022, Keno.
Yeah, first one, first of many, probably.
Exactly. Fantastic. So if we're going to take a look at today why the League of Ireland have been producing so much quality young talent in the last couple of years, it's something actually we've seen come to the fore, isn't it, in the League of Ireland in the last few years. But we're going to look at some of the topics first. And I suppose one of the reasons why, for me anyway, I don't know about you, is probably Brexit as well. Obviously, the Brexit rules means that anyone under 18 can't move over to the UK and play, basically. So that's a reason in itself. So I don't know what you think about that overall. Do you think that's a good thing for players generally? A bad thing? How do you see that?
Yeah, look, it depends really, you know, and it really, it all comes down to the individual, in my opinion. Look, if you're really, really good, which is very few and far between. So, like, if you're hitting 9 or 10 on, you know, scorecards and stuff like that, it's probably Brexit is probably a hindrance for you, because if you're that good, for example, you won't get to go over at 14 or 15, you know, to that's, for example, Spurs or whoever it might be, like, you know, but at the same time, it gives you an opportunity here to go and get, like, your education first and foremost, right the way through. And, you know, I think that's obviously a big, massive thing. Look, education is probably the most important, people will say, and stuff like that. I probably don't really agree. I really don't mean much. I know, all joking aside, look, I think it's important that you have your leaving cert at least.
It's good that, isn't it good, that young players can do that in the league now as well. And I suppose from that kind of way, it's from a League of Ireland point of view, it's good, let's be honest. Players have to be 18 to move over, because they might even realise at 18, oh, hang on a second, you know, the education isn't finished yet, so I can play with a League of Ireland club for another year or two. So there's a chance they might even stay on. A lot of players, as we've seen, we get on some later, until they're after 18 as well. So that's another side of it too, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And look, I'm all for it. Like I said, I don't know if I said that, I kind of was saying about the players going to England and stuff at an early age. If you're good enough and stuff like that, I get that. And players people will feel aggrieved. I think it's the mindset is changing now. You know, if you were to speak to any 11 or 12-year-old, you know, years ago, it's all about getting across to England and playing, like, going for trials here, there, and everywhere. And obviously, we're not saying that anymore now. But I think the mindset is changing, and, like, we're talking about kids now looking to leave schoolboy clubs to go and play for Shamrock Rovers, to go and play for Pats or Bows or, you know, Sligo or whoever it may be. Like, they're really pushing themselves to make it to League of Ireland. So it's like, it's nearly grading the players as such, you know. Obviously, you have a couple of gems in the DDSL and the local district leagues around the country and stuff like that. Oh, you know, you're grading your players in Ireland now, where your League of Ireland is your best of your best. Then you have your really good DDSL sides, your Premier sides, you know, and then you have your, as you call them, probably your community teams or your club teams of players that are just going to go through their schoolboy levels and they're just going to play football. They're not probably going to be in a high league, but they're just going to enjoy it. And I think it covers the basis of everything in schoolboy football in Ireland, especially, like, because, like I said, you have the best of your best playing against each other every week. You have then the second best playing against each other every week. Then you have your mediocre, middle of the road type, and then you have your middle of the road players in the community playing against each other. So I think it's an awful lot fairer, in my opinion, and for people in, let's say, DDSL and stuff like that. You know, I think it bridges the gap a little bit. So you know, the jump isn't so high. Like, I'll be honest with you, I'm obviously involved in DDSL. I don't think the jump, look, they're the same players that were playing DDSL last year, for example, but I don't think the jump is very high to League of Ireland.
Yeah.
And obviously when you get into League of Ireland, then the jump is massive onto your 17s, 19s and stuff like that. But at this minute in time, I think it really does. It puts everyone in a pill and it puts everyone in certain groups. And I think it's a lot fairer on the kids as well.
Yeah, I think to finish up on the Brexit point as well, obviously Brexit has only come into effect recently. So whereas that has some kind of effect on some of the quality talent coming through, this kind of started before Brexit was in place, to be honest, with the young players I noticed coming through into the league. I spoke to you like before off air like that. In the last, 25 years I've been watching properly, I haven't seen as much talent come through in the League of Ireland. But this was starting, as I said, to happen before Brexit really came into place. So do you think that's a lot to do with maybe the actual, you kind of hit it on there a little bit, the underage leagues that we have now in the League of Ireland, with obviously, all the clubs, Pats, Shelburne, whoever it is,
Yeah, look, it's definitely helping, and I look at Brexit has obviously helped the leagues. I think the leagues would still be in full flow whether Brexit was there or not. Obviously it was there before Brexit. The under 19s and 17s and stuff like that was already in place before Brexit. So I've no doubt it would have been a success. I like what the league done. I think it was back in 2017, maybe I could be wrong. They started introducing the 19s league, which was a massive one. But then they started introducing then the 17s league 2 years later, then the 15s, then the 13s. But that's changed now. That's now the 14s. So you have a 14s, 15s, 17s, 19s. I personally think at this minute, I'm just going a little bit off topic, but I think there should be an under 20/21s league. I just think the gap between 19s and first team is way too big for players making the cup, because if you look at the amount of players that are dropping out after playing, just say, for example, Bowes 19s, a lot of them players won't be given. Bowes probably a bad example because Bowes do actually produce young players.
But there could be a lot of players there that they don't make it because they're producing so many. If you get
that's it, and
you know what I mean?
I find a lot of players that 19s kind of fall out of the game or go and play Leinster Senior and stuff like that. They're not been playing National League all the way through. So I just think personally, if we were to really get to an elite level, I would be all for this 21s league. Look, cost comes into effect. Some amount of money to run an underage football club, to run an underage team. You're travelling up and down the country. You're training on the best of the best facilities. All this costs money, So I can see probably why it's not in effect at the minute. But I would like to see in the next 5 years at least an under 21s league, because, like I said, that gap is too big. And if we were to close that gap, I think a lot of players will be looking at themselves and saying, I have an opportunity here to play for St. Pat's from the age of 14 right through to 21s and hopefully get into the first team. And, I think it would help first teams as well, of course. We'll get on to the benefits of these young players that are coming through. But if you, for example, could have 5 or 6 young players in your side that necessarily didn't have to play and played for the 21s. Look, I know there was a 21s league a couple of years ago, a good few years ago now. But, I think it'd be run an awful lot better now, considering you have your players coming through right the way through. So I just think it would help clubs. It would help everything. Like we've seen how big and how much it helped Shamrock Rovers when they had their basically under 21 side in the first division, and we've seen the effect of it. So I do think it'll be a massive thing for the clubs to push for that. I would be pushing for it. I'd be all for that in the next 5 years with a bit of luck.
Yeah, that'll be interesting, to be fair. I mean, we've noticed with the obviously the clubs like Belvedere and Kevin's and all, they've always done great work, to be fair. And obviously some links, some that were official, Kevin's with Bowes, you've unofficial links with other clubs, bits and pieces like that. But do you think the coaching at that level has even got better? Do you think? I mean, a lot of those clubs will suggest, as you know yourself, that they put in the groundwork before, Dara Burns goes on and plays for Pats, be it under 14 or 15 or whatever the level is.
Yeah, of course. And, these underage clubs, like I'm involved with Belva myself, and like I can speak for Belva and say the coaching is second to none. Like, we have Johnny McDonald as our, like, anyone that doesn't have Johnny McDonald, played for Pats for years, managed Pats, managed Shells, managed Drogheda. He's a massive figure in League of Ireland football. He's your director of coaching at Belva. You're dealing with him day in, day out. And the stuff you're picking up off him, you're learning off him. And I'm not just saying because he's Johnny Mack, I'm learning off him. I'm learning off his experience. To have that at a club like Belvo is frightening. And look, I'm on my B licence. We have an awful lot of clubs, or an awful lot of players, coaches in the clubs now that are B licenses now, be honest with you, is the norm. And
that's a good thing, isn't it? Yeah, that's massive.
To be honest, 5 years ago, B licenses were a bit more, let's say, meaningful. I think. I think a lot of people have B licenses now, which is great. I'm not giving out about that. I love that fact that B licenses now has become nearly a minimum requirement for a lot of things. You're looking at underage League of Ireland, like third men, like not even a manager or assistant, and they're advertising for B licensed coaches. And I think that really sets the bar. And look,
in other words, not anyone is just going to walk in and get a coaching job. Like,
that's it. And I love the way it works. Now I was obviously involved with Bowes. I used to run the academy at Bowes and the junior academy, which was fantastic. And we bring parents in as coaches, and I knew it was my job at the time, but I knew that these coaches were going to get the best of the best training. And, I was going to get them onto the PDP1, PDP2, and all the different workshops before they actually left the academy and went in to manage a team at under 8s or under 9s level. So I think the clubs now are putting structures in place. We look at the likes of Bowes, for example, and the announcement of Craig Sexton on a full-time position, which is, I think, probably, I know Alan Caffrey was at Kevin's for years and done amazing work. Now he's at Shelbourne. But, I don't know too many others that were on a full-time capacity and were doing really well at underage. So it just shows you the levels that we're getting to. And look, I think the work Shamrock Rovers are doing. I think the work St. Pat's are doing. All these clubs are doing really good work. But the quality of coaching and the quality and the attention to detail, like you would walk in, bear in mind a lot of these are volunteers, like I said, like some, Craig Sexton and Alan Caffrey and all, they would be in charge of it. But it's run by volunteers. And even then, you drop it down, like I said, that's League of Ireland level, but you drop it down to Belvo, for example, and Kevin's, and your top clubs around, and it's the exact same. It's run the same. It's not run like Ragball Rovers. It's run like St. Patrick's Athletic, or even better at times.
Even better at times, yeah. A lot of those clubs do have a better facility, funnily enough, actually. But that's another thing.
I've picked up. I've learned so much in between at Belvo, working under Johnny and working under an awful lot of other coaches. There's some top coaches in the club, and it's all about learning, and you need to create that learning environment. And you're going into a club with a massive history and schoolboy football and being the main team for so many years, and everyone wanted to play for Kevin's, everyone wanted to play for Belvo, and that's the way it was. I'm just saying them two teams, for example, but we obviously had some really good top teams, Home Farms, your Stella Maris's, there's so many clubs, you can name them all off.
Joseph's, a few down in Cork as well, Avondale or whatever,
Exactly, and these do unbelievable Trojan amount of work, which I love to see. I do it myself. I'm engrossed into it. I love helping coaches. I love getting coaches on the right pathway. But that's where it starts. It needs to start with the coaches, and like we do monthly workshops. Coach comes in, we're sitting in a room, big television, and it's a PowerPoint presentation, and you're learning things, and it's all about learning, and you have to create that environment. Like, for example, I'd go down to Belleville now when I finished sitting in, basically. But I'd be down there, and you'd be looking at coaches, and you'd be looking at what they're doing, and you say, Jesus, I probably wouldn't do that, but I do this. I like what he done there. I'll rob that, and that's the environment that you learn, and that's the environment that is engrossed into clubs like Belleville, as I can speak for Belleville because I'm involved. And, it's the same at Patsby, the same at Rovers, same at Shells, Bowes, no doubt every club, Sligo, Galway, Wexford. But I think that's the key. If you have better coaches coming into the clubs, at that level, then all of a sudden, then it makes it so much easier for that transition. The players are obviously learning an awful lot more. It's not like it was years ago where, Johnny's dad's the manager. It's not, them days are over now. And, I have to say it's exciting when you see the talent coming through. Like, I've often been up at Pats, and, you're looking at the under 13s or 14s or whatever it is. You're so excited for the future. And I think, like I said, if we can just keep building this now, I really do think we're up there, because clubs will obviously, like it says, Belleville, Kevin's, all them will always take pride in the fact that they had all these amount of internationals that have gone on and playing for Ireland, and your Wes Hewlands, your Robbie Brady's, whatever it is, these type of players. But I really think these clubs that they can't be forgotten about, because these are the ones that have got these players to League of Ireland level. And I really do think that there's a conveyor belt of players coming through. And I love seeing players going up to play League of Ireland at Bell. I love talking to them when they come down on Wednesday night in Clontarf, and I'm like, how'd you get on last night up at Rovers, or how'd you get on up in Pats? And it's brilliant. I love seeing the kids, they come in with a spring in their step. So it's important, though, that you look after the kids that don't go as well. And that's why Belleville, Kevin's, all these clubs are very important.
So, Cian, then you do get that transition. And obviously, in the last couple of years, like you've noticed, I've noticed, we've noticed all these players coming through, playing at these League of Ireland clubs. Nearly every club is producing players, and good players that are doing well in their first teams, and in some cases moving on, and in some cases being linked to so many clubs abroad. I've never seen so many players in our league, particularly young players, linked to so many clubs abroad and look like they're going to make the move, etc. And you could talk about every club. Like, Pats obviously have done brilliantly in that way. Bowes have done brilliantly. Rovers have as well. It might be harder for players to break through at Rovers because of their quality at the moment in their first team. But clubs like Derry City, have done fantastic work in bringing in their youth. And it's not just bringing through youth, as I said. They're actually starring in their teams and becoming some of the best teams in the league very quickly. Like recently, we've seen obviously Liam Scales move to Celtic. He's a little bit older, 23. James Brown's moved to Blackburn, 23. We've seen Jacob Ryan move to from Cork, move to Palace. We've seen Killian Phillips. He's on the verge of moving to Palace. Johnny Kenny on the verge of moving to Celtic. There's other players as well, like a name, there's loads of them. Like, we could talk all day about players, but it just shows the strength, doesn't it, of the young players coming through in the league, and it raises the standards, I think, of the teams, and it also gives other players hope, because suddenly young players are saying, well, actually, this league is good and it's very competitive, and you hear players saying it, and it raises just the standard in different ways every time, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Look, it's really good to see. I love seeing young players coming through. I'm big for it. But, it is a young man's game now, and football has changed. It's not what it was.
But you still need the actual quality talent coming through, and I suppose the point to make is it's not just that we've loads of young players coming through. We've loads of young, talented players coming through. That's the difference.
Yeah, look, if you look at Shamrock Rovers, their academy, unbelievable. Best in the country, in my opinion. There's no getting away from that for what they have.
The funny thing is, though, if they don't get in the Rovers team, there's a good chance they're going to go elsewhere. You've Brandon Cavan, an example, who's moved up to Derry City, and there's plenty of players. Max Murphy recently moved to Bowes, so they're benefiting the league, actually. even if it mightn't necessarily every time benefit themselves, you know?
Yeah. Look at UCD. They've been doing this for years.
They're nearly different. They're exempt from the list almost, because they're just doing it for years. Yeah.
I love the courage that the young players have. Keith Long has been doing this for a number of years, and bringing the young players in. Like, you look, Ross Tierney is gone, and Bowls fans aren't even
steps in probably.
Mullins.
They had Mandrew before. Then Tierney kind of stepped in to a degree into his shoes. I know the vibes there as well. And then Mullins is going to step in, you would think. So, and a lot of clubs are like that, to be fair. I mean, Derry have a few guys there, young lads that are very young now, but they're Harris and Doherty. English clubs are looking at them, but they're not even first team players yet.
Oh.
But you've got Evan McLaughlin and Ronan Boyce as an example, and like they're quality players coming through. Like,
you go back a few years, you had Paddy McElhenney, you had Mickey Duffy, you had James McLean, you had Aaron McAniff,
Ronan Curtis.
Yeah, Aaron McAniff. But you have all these young players that they brought through, and the local boys as well. And I think there's a sense of pride when
definitely.
There's some fans mightn't feel it, but like there's a serious sense of pride when I see Dara Bournes sending someone to shops and sticking one in the top rooms. And it's great. He's your player, he's your boy, he's your star man. And I love seeing a young player coming through. And that's the same for everyone. Like, I love Amaki at Rovers. I think he has a big opportunity.
Big time.
I think Dean Williams.
He's exciting to watch, isn't he?
Like, Dean Williams for me is a big one this year to look out for.
Yeah, definitely.
Who obviously left from Rovers. But you look at the young players that Tim Clancy brought through with Drogheda. Conor Kane obviously inherited him from Pete Matten's side. But, Conor, who was a really young player at Pats, didn't get in, went to Drogheda and has really pushed on now and excelled.
Brown similarly at Shelbourne as well.
Exactly. You look through it. You look through the list. Killian Phillips, who big admirer of, even these young players.
There's another one coming through Drogheda as well, Booty F as well. He's one to watch next season. So every year there's a batch. We might see these players come through, and they might end up leaving, some of them quicker than others. But every year there's a new batch. Every team nearly has a new batch of a player or two at least who could make their squads and possibly get in their teams. And then a year later, you're talking about them as if they're going to Scotland or England. It's mental.
I'm thinking now off the top of my head of Pats, and I'm looking at, I know you're probably saying, and probably every Pats fan is saying, we need a centre half. Sam Curtis is 15 years of age. 16 now, sorry. He only went 16.
Yeah, true. He started. He made his debut as such when he was 15, so he came out when he was 15.
This fella is unbelievable.
If you look at some of the Irish underage teams, Keane, recently, be it under 15, 17, 19, whatever, there's a mass amount of League of Ireland clubs in those lists. I've never seen that. I'd say only the last 5 years or so I've noticed that. Before that, you might get one or two from League of Ireland clubs. Now, the majority of players in those lists, in those squads, are actually League of Ireland players. So that troll goes back to the example of, obviously we talked about Kevin's, Belvedere and all those type of clubs in the DCL looking after these players. But the underage league in Ireland has obviously helped that as well, and a bit more competitive maybe at the end of the day. And obviously those players now are in Republic of Ireland squads. That's a massive thing as well, isn't it? And I think that's another reason how it's come about, I suppose.
Yeah, look, it's massive. It's great to see, and I love seeing it. I love seeing these players going. You look at the list, and they're not only going to make up numbers either. Like, I just think back.
In some cases, are the better players.
Like, you look at Liam Carrigan, for example, in the 21s. Like, your players like Gavin Kilkenny, who's playing the championship week in, week out, and Cardigan is probably starting in front of him at times. And, and I think it just shows you the quality that we have at this minute in time. And, you look at the...
We've had Johnny Kenny, in fact, for the under-19s. He scored a couple of goals for the Irish under-19s. Another one,
And, Johnny Kenny he's one of these players that are one of a kind for me.
For me, he looks special. You'd be afraid to say that about players that young, don't you? And in case you're wrong yourself, But you can't, as I said before, you can't help what your eyes tell you. And they tell me he's a very special player.
Yeah, look, there's no doubt he has ability. He has to work hard to keep it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I've no doubt if he goes down to Celtic, I've no doubt if he goes to Celtic, there's 20 strikers at that club now that want that number 9 jersey, and and he needs to be the one to get it. And it's not going to be all rosy. It's not going to be all sweet. And he's going to have to work hard if he gets.
And he'll need time.
But you think back, and he would have had this battle to be the best player at Sligo. He would have had the battle. I would say there's probably 3 under 19 strikers at Sligo, 3 under 17s at the time, sorry. And he had to go and be the best there. He has to go and be the best there at the 19s. He had to go and be the best at the first team. Now he has to go and test himself again. So, you're always testing yourself with players, but there's always someone to take your spot. And I think that really helps. And that's why the 15s, 17s, 19s has really helped. Because there's always someone better behind you. And, I love seeing that. Like I says, you look at these players going, the amount of them in the underage squads is frightening. We used to have a home-based camp, if you remember.
Separate.
They'd only pick home-based players, and that had to be separate. But now it's not the case, And I really think that's just credit to the FAI for how they run the underage structure in Ireland. I think how the clubs have managed the players and the quality of coaching to give to the players. And I've absolutely zero doubt in my mind. You think back of all the young players that have probably gone to Brighton over the years, or they'd be a big club that a lot of players would go to, young players. And I've no doubt the coaching in Pats at this minute in time, and the coaching at Shamrock Rovers, Bowles, Sligo, Galway, whatever Wexford. I've no doubt the coaching is the exact same as Brighton, with no budget and, volunteers. So it just shows that we have a massive opportunity here. This is the most excitement I've had coming into a League of Ireland season. I'm buzzing to see James.
As a kind of a League of Ireland fan and the selfish head on a little bit, you don't want too many of them leaving too quickly. That's the other side of it. It's a difficult one, isn't it?
Look, it's very difficult, and it's going. Look, you're going to lose players that are going. You can't really do anything about it. Players are going to go if they're good enough. Great.
And at least clubs now are actually safeguarding them on 2-3 year deals, which means that they do, when they say lose them, they get as big as fees they possibly can to a degree for these players as well.
And I do think as well, it's great. The door is always open. I always come back. So if a player spoke to me, for example, I've had a number of players speak to me over the course and just ask me what I think, and I'd say go for it, because the door's always open. You're only young, you can come back. And that's the same even at Belvo. We get players and they'd come up to me and they'd ask me, do you think I should go up the Pats, or do you think I should go up the Rovers? Now I'd be trying to send the Pats.
Definitely don't go to Rovers.
I'd be saying to them, I'd say, look, I said, what have you got to lose? Go up to Rovers, go up and try it. If you want to come back, the door is open for you. So you're not under this pressure where kids were coming back from England to it, nothing, and they'd fall out of the game. And I think Bowes set the benchmark on players coming back.
100%.
You see the likes of Anto Breslin, the likes of
Danny Mandrew himself.
Yeah, Danny Mandrew. All these players that went over, probably didn't hit the heights that they probably wanted or expected, and they come back and sign for Bowes. James Talbot is now another one, and I think Bowes set the benchmark for that. But I think players now are playing with no fear. They're not, they look. I love to see it. I absolutely love it. But I think even at League of Ireland level, like I said, they can always go back to their clubs if they didn't like it. So go for it, try it out, and that's what I'd say to anyone. Just take the opportunity. You've nothing to do it. The worst that can happen is you come back to us, and that's what got you there in the first place. So it's great to see, and look, I'm buzzing for the new season with this.
Yeah, 100%. We'll leave it there. Thanks, guys, for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the bell notification button so you don't miss a video. And like the video if you like the content. Cheers again, Keno.
Thanks, bud.